Hey everybody, what's up? What's going on? And if you can hear the dishwasher in the background, I apologize. I tried to cancel out that noise as best as I could. Hopefully it worked. Also, if you hear traffic in the background, it is currently rush hour and I live downtown. So hope none of those things are a problem. Try to cancel them all out, like I said. But let's move on to bigger and more important things than sound. Well, okay, before we get into the real big topic, I just also wanted to touch on Modern Warfare Remastered. I haven't really said anything about the game other than that first video in which I said I gave my kind of first impressions on the game. And I just kind of wanted to continue to that and just say, yeah, it's still good. It still feels like COD 4 does. It's hard because it's a new game, sort of. Like, it kind of seems like it's a new game, and so you kind of want to, like, expound on it and share, like, knowledge and stuff like that. But however, like, that being said, like, this game's already been out since 2007, so there's really not a whole lot to do. Like, you could talk about the little anyway. So I just feel the same. I feel the same about Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. Feels great. Like playing it still. Awesome. But so now we can move on to the topic of discussion, the main event, the third course of this commentary. And I just kind of wanted to talk about this story in which I was first exposed to this worldview class and this concept, this formal concept of what a worldview was. Actually put like a title or a name to what this was. But to begin with this story, to start this story to go. I was in middle school when this happened, and during this time of the story, I was in 8th grade. And when I was in 8th grade, I was living in Hawaii at the time. That's where my family lived, and I was at this small, teeny tiny school. There were 15 kids in my graduating class of 8th grade, so all of us, we just would share one classroom. Actually, we would share 3 classrooms with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and one room was for 6th grade, one room was from 7th grade, one room was for 8th grade. We would move as a class from one room to another. One teacher specialized in math, one teacher specialized in... It was supposed to be like science that she was the specialization for, but in this class it was like a private Christian school, and so there wasn't really any science at all involved in this class, so that's, you know, kind of a cop-out for her. And then another one was an English had a specialization in English and literature. So we would rotate our, core classes through that, and then we would also have individually with our respective teacher. The 6th grade teacher was the math specialist. The 7th grade teacher was supposed to be what was the science specialist, and the 8th grade teacher who was the literature and English specialist. And with our class, we would have, of course, in addition to those specialization classes, those teachers would also teach us our main our classes outside of those core ones. And one of them, my 8th grade year, was called Worldview. And I guess I still had something to say about just about setting everything up there. The last thing I wanted to set up was, at this time, I had moved from Chicago, to where I was born, to Hawaii, and I lived there for a year at this point. This is my 2nd year in the school, and we had some more experience, with living outside of where you normally live. There's something that there's something that change brings with moving, but there's nothing like that the change is brought with such a large move to almost a different continent. I mean, it's more than far enough away to be a different continent. It's in the middle of the ocean. It's a completely different culture compared to different parts of the United States versus the United States just as the contiguous United States as a whole, and as its own different culture. And so we're in this worldview class, and the teacher, I don't remember anything about this class other than the first day of it. And in this first day of this class, it was the first time that this class had ever been taught. I think it was a different concept. The teacher that we had was younger, because our old fat teacher was out with a health injury for the whole year, I think. And so we had this young guy. He was 22 years old at the time, and he was teaching this class about worldview, and he was from North Carolina. Somehow or another, he had met this chick from Hawaii. I think they met in North Carolina, then he moved to Hawaii. back with her. And so that's, this guy was, concentrated on, he was a newly wed, and I think, like I said, this is a Christian school. I think he had just had sex for the first time. And so it was like this guy, and he was trying to be really cool. That was the main thing about this guy, is he was trying really hard to be cool. He was a nice enough guy. He just wasn't good at his job at all. And so just trying to be cool. And we had this concept, and he goes, what is this? What is a worldview? And then, what is this? Both, what is the definition? What does the word mean? All the way around. Like, what is a worldview? And, the definition we ended up with was the lens in which you view the world. And then we talked about, what changes what changes the lens, what makes the lenses different from other people's lenses. And we talked about, different cultures, different backgrounds, different upbringings, different things like, and all these things that shape you. And it was just kind of funny, watching people who had lived in one small island their entire life kind of get introduced to this idea. And of course, there was me and this teacher who had already experienced this firsthand. We already had known what a worldview is, not because someone had to tell us, but because we knew what it was from living in, in different regions of, the country. And if you look at it, on the globe, and we were living in different regions of the world, and just the climate and the temperature and the environment and the ecosystems and the people and the cultures, everything is different, whether it's a little bit different or whether these changes are big. Moving in such a large move from those two places, it's no matter what's going to happen, it's going to be a big shock. And just experiencing that is, it's really hard to vocalize the differences between worldviews. Not the difference, like, in Chicago versus Hawaii. In Chicago, these people are cold. These people, just kind of work. That's what they work, they drink, they're cold. They're cold as in, it's cold outside, and that, the weather plays a big role on who these people are, and, and the activities that they do. These people spend more time inside. These people don't have the outdoor life that, Hawaiians do, because, in Hawaii, you're really able to do so many things. There's water sports, there's incredible is the wrong word, but there's great, I'm a cyclist, so there's great cycling, just because there's mountains and volcanoes and flats and wind all in the same area. There's just so much. There's hiking. There's so much to do, physically speaking. And so that's like a big change, or how if a society of people, if hiking is regular to them, how is that going to compare to a society of people who don't go hiking ever, who are like go hiking when they go on vacation to Hawaii, but don't actually have hiking as a hobby, because there's no hiking in Illinois. There's flat woods. You could walk through the woods, but there's no hiking through the mountains. And just, the kind of lessons you learn from being in these different environments. And I think it's interesting how these things truly shape you, and depending on what age you experience them, they kind of have different meanings, and they kind of have different intensities in terms of the way how big of an impact such an event will have on your life. For example, a normal thing in Hawaii that I'm trying to think of. A normal thing in Hawaii would be, okay, this is just going to be a very touristy example. It's not even eating poi. Poi in Hawaii. Poi is taro plant. Taro plant is like a root that grows in the ground. They mash it up and they make poi. Poi, it's like this purple paste, and the poi is the closest thing the Hawaiians have to a potato. Obviously, they still have potatoes, but actually native to the place and what the native people were used to eating. And they would, smash it up and makes this paste. And to them, it's just like, oh yeah, it's like stuffing. It's like cranberry sauce. It's like turkey. For them, it's, something that's like completely normal. Everybody looks at it. It's like, yeah, this is just a traditional dish. What are you getting so wrapped up in it? But then you realize, oh, well, this is because the people that came before them, this is what they could eat. They were living such a poor lifestyle that they had to eat smashed up tasteless purple root. And that just kind of, and when you experience that as someone who people eat a lot of like meat and cattle because that's what's available, it just kind of, just noticing shocks like that is can play a big difference in how, like, the way you think about things that like resources and stuff like that. So I guess if I could say anything to you, it would be go new places that you've never been before, whether they're close, whether they're far. Eat new foods that you've never tasted before, because they'll form your experiences on new stuff. And read books that you've never read before, and look at pictures and art that are different than you know of, because you'll learn a lot and you'll actually grow yourself. I think as we're on this topic, I think I'm going to stop this video and then head on over to the library and grab some photography books, because I need to step my photography game up. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Went a little bit over time. Subscribe for more Modern Warfare Remastered, and like if you enjoyed.